Hello to all the pretty girls tuning in. Hi everyone. First of all, before we even begin, can you all look at my shirt, please? If you're watching this on video on Spotify or YouTube, tell me I look like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I'm wearing this is a described video for those who are not watching. I'm wearing this off the shoulder yellow top, and I look like Belle, okay? There must be more than this provincial life. I don't know why I sang that in a British accent because she's literally French. But anyway, okay, I look cute. I'm getting distracted by myself on the camera. So, all right, let's do this. So, hi everyone. Again, today I have a really special announcement before we get into the episode. Are you ready? I am launching the Baddie Brief, which is going to be a twice monthly newsletter, and there will be two tiers. There's going to be the free tier that will always be free for anybody who wants to get a little taste of what it's like. And there's also going to be the members exclusive tier, which is going to have so much stuff. So there will be a lesson or a theme for each Baddie Brief, and everything will be centered around that. So it's going to have the baddie of the month, which is going to be a success story from one of you pretty girls. So I'm going to put out a call every couple of weeks for you all to come share your success stories with me. That's the baddie of the month. There's going to be a buffoon of the month. It won't be any of you, I promise. I'm never going to publicly shame any of you. It'll be some other idiot who comes across my stuff. You're also going to get access to something I've built, which is called the Toxic Femininity Matrix, which is basically a live document where I've mapped out all the toxic femininity traits, which are basically traits that women have been told and internalized by society and culture to belittle ourselves, to hold us back, and to really prevent ourselves from being the best versions of ourselves. So those toxic femininity traits, I have mapped those against every single law that we have, and I'm going to continue updating it as we have more laws. And I've also mapped them against the key emotions that those toxic femininity traits are supposed to evoke if you violate them. So it's this whole like matrix that I've built. I think it's really, really cool, obviously, because I built it, and you'll love it. I know you will. So that's going to be there too. And then there's also going to be other stuff like journaling prompts, but not the type of prompts that you think, like, oh, describe what you're grateful for. No, 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 no. These are going to be bad bitch prompts that are really going to help you break free of those toxic femininity traits. And there's going to be other stuff like recommendations and all these sorts of things. So stay tuned for that. I'm still cooking. It will be out very soon. I just wanted to give a heads up, and I'll let you all know in the next few weeks when it actually comes out, because I want to make it available so that once you sign up, you get the body brief, within a couple of days. Especially if you're paying for something, I want you to get it pretty much immediately. So that's what's coming. I hope you're excited. As you can tell, I'm excited. And now let us get into the episode. So I'm going to pose a question to the class. Can anyone tell me what is the purpose of a business? Anyone in the class? Yes, Timmy? I'm kidding. There's no boys in this class. So, the purpose of a business is to make a profit in most cases. And if you are continually operating at a loss, then that business doesn't make any sense. So, why is it that a lot of us are in relationships where we're operating at a loss, where we're giving too much of our emotions, of our energy, and draining ourselves? And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. This can be friendships, jobs, relationships with family. It can be anything, a relationship between you and somebody else. So why is it that we are in these relationships where we're basically operating at a loss? It's because we have been conditioned to think that the only currency we can pay with is ourselves and our emotions. As women, we're tricked into believing that our value is tied to what we can do for other people rather than who we are as people. And something I noticed that's so illustrative of this is that I don't think I've ever used the word illustrative, but it's the way couples talk about their significant others on social media. I notice this all the time when a guy posts about his girlfriend, like for their anniversary or birthday or whatever. A lot of the time, he's talking about what his girlfriend has done for him. And a lot of the time, when women post their boyfriends or their partners, their post is about the type of person that guy is. So, as women, we have been conditioned to give aimlessly and to think that that's the way it's supposed to be because we've literally been bamboozled into believing that we have to give more than we receive and we have to give ourselves because we are the currency. And if you've listened to Law 12 from a couple of weeks ago, you'll know that it's actually not true. It's the opposite. True femininity means being a receiver more than a giver. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about why thinking of things as a business is going to be one of the best things that you can do for yourself, especially in the world that we live in. And I'm going to talk about how exactly to do that. It's actually not that hard. And how you can really like take inventory of the, I was about to say the businesses, but of the relationships that you have in your life and figure out like, are these draining me? And am I well suited to be in these relationships to begin with? And that is all if I don't get distracted by my lethal face card today. All right. In the last law, in Law 12, I was not very energetic because I was recovering from, I think I had the flu. But yeah, I didn't want to tell you guys that at the beginning of the episode because then you're going to think of like how lethargic I sound. So I didn't mention anything. But yeah, I'm back. I'm back to being my regular self. We have to face the fact that we live in a world where men have made most of the rules so they can exercise power and control over one of the most valuable resources in the world, which is women. But that's okay. That is okay because we're not going to cry about it. We're not going to complain about that. No, because we are not victims and we have our own way of following those rules that benefit us. The word of the day is malicious compliance, which one of our listeners actually introduced me to. So if that pretty girl is listening, shout out to you. Now, we are told that our currency, like I said, is ourselves and that we have to give ourselves and give everything. Like, how many times have you heard this? Or maybe you've said this yourself. Oh, I gave him everything. Or after everything I gave him, he still did A, B, C, and D. And A, B, C, and D can be a person or it can be a thing that he did. You shouldn't be giving anyone your all except for yourself. Because if you do, then you're not going to have anything left over for yourself for the only relationship that you're guaranteed to have for your entire life, which is your relationship with yourself. And no one should be giving you their all either. Because when somebody gives you everything, then they expect you to be everything for them. And they'll resent you if you don't meet that expectation, which obviously you won't because it's an impossible expectation to meet. If you gave your all in a business, in that you went in and just blindly threw your life savings into a business with no plan, you're probably going to go bankrupt and your business is probably going to fail. So the same thing can happen in your relationships. We just have to start thinking of these things on the same terms because they are parallel. This brings me to the example that I actually want to share today, which is another personal example of my past relationship. So if you guys are not familiar, I was in a 5.5-year relationship with a broke, emotionally abusive, and manipulative man. And why did I stay in that relationship for that long? Because I had no self-love and I thought that this is the only person who's going to want me, so I might as well stay. Which, now looking back at this, I'm like, that is absurd. Anyway, that is the example we're going to talk about. This is the perfect example because this relationship is what happens when two idiots get together who have no idea what they're doing and have no sense of self-love, because we both gave everything but in different ways. So for me, I gave, oh my God, I gave so much. I gave my time because I was always spending time with him. I'm the type of person who likes to spend a lot of time by myself, whereas he was the type of person who wanted to spend almost every single day with his partner. So instead of compromising, I'm like, okay, let me just spend every single day with him, which was the worst. I hated that. But like, obviously I can see why somebody would want to spend all their time with me because why not? He would also call me all the time, all the freaking time. And I am not the type of person who likes phone calls. I don't like FaceTimes. I don't like phone calls. If you want to talk to me, let's talk in person. And he would call me constantly. Like, I could not get through a movie. If I wanted to watch a movie, I couldn't get through a movie without him calling me. Not even that. I couldn't get through like a 30-minute TV show without him calling me. It was like I was on call. I couldn't do anything uninterrupted. I also gave all of my energy because he was really, really needy. And what he needed was more of a mom than a girlfriend. But what did I do? I became a mom. Yeah. And I just did everything that he couldn't do himself. Like, for example, he struggled so much with losing weight. And so what did I do? I got him groceries. I made a meal plan. I tracked all the macros on my fitness pal. I meal prepped for this man. I cooked for this man and I would prepare the food in containers. I'm so icked out by this right now. This is disgusting. But again, gave a lot of my energy. And what else did I give? Money, because he was broke. He was a brokey. For example, when we went on dates, I like to be taken out. I like to be wine and dined. But when you're with a brokey, that won't happen unless you're the one paying. So who paid? Me. Or when we had to like go someplace, like the dates, who would be driving? Me. Who would pay for the gas? Me. So I gave time, I gave energy, I gave money, I gave literally everything I had for this buffoon. And the whole time my mom was watching me in this relationship, she's like, "What are you doing?" I think the person who suffered the most was my mom. So if you're listening, I'm very sorry for that. Bebachid. I had to tell my mom sorry in Farsi. So that was my side of the relationship, the aimless and endless giving that I gave. He also gave too much. And one example that I really want to drive home here, because I sort of touched on this a few moments ago, is he expected me to be everything for him because he's the type of person who cuts off all his friends when he gets into a relationship. I think we all know these types of people, but as soon as we started dating, he cut off like all his friends. He just stopped talking to them. And so what did he expect? He expected me to be all those friends, which is crazy because each friend serves a specific purpose. Like there's a friend you go to for life advice, there's a friend you go to vent, there's a friend you go to like have a good night out. I don't know, but you can't expect one person to have all of those roles. And that's exactly what he expected of me. And obviously, I cannot fill the shoes of all the friends who you've cut off. So he resented me for not meeting his impossible expectation. So, all of this to show that when you give your all to anybody, or anybody gives their all to you, this can go both ways. Things never end well. We are not meant, especially as women, forget about the guy. As women, we are not meant to give our all to anybody but ourselves. So now that we know better, we're going to think of things along business terms. We're going to be standing on business. So if my past relationship was a business, we would have gone bankrupt and we would have had to file for creditor protection. So I live in Canada and a major department store just went bankrupt. So that's been all over the news and all these bankruptcy terms are in my head. I feel like just the timing of that with this episode was perfect because now I can pretend like I'm a finance bro. Let's talk about how to prevent ourselves from going bankrupt. And like I said, this is not going to be hard. The way we prevent ourselves from going bankrupt in our relationships is by identifying two things. First, what we want from the relationship, and second, what currency we're willing to give. So, number one, identifying what we want from the relationship. In order to do this, we need to be goal oriented and we have to work backwards from that goal. So, we have to think more like men when we're talking about this. We have to take a page out of their book. After, of course, we unstick the pages because they've been stuck together by boogers and cooties. Because remember who made the rules? And then look at their behaviors. Those are the behaviors that the system rewards. So we need to adopt those behaviors. But we've been socialized and conditioned by culture, by society, by all sorts of social pressures to not act like that. So we have to be goal oriented in everything, in relationships, in jobs, in any sort of relationship or dynamic that you have. You need to be guided by a goal. And if you think that's transactional, babes, everything is a transaction. We are engaging in a transaction right now. You're giving me your time and I'm giving you information. Or you go to the store, you're giving the store money and they're giving you an item. Not every transaction is bad. So the term transactional, it has this negative connotation to it, but it really just, for what? For why? At the end of the day, your relationships should be benefiting you. You're not some kind of saint or martyr, okay? You don't need to suffer. You don't get extra points for suffering. We don't want to win the suffering Olympics. I don't want a gold medal in that. Leave the suffering Olympics to people who have a victim mindset because we don't. So we're not here to suffer. My mom did not carry me for 9 months and then raise me for 27 years for me to suffer. And if that's your mindset, cut it out. Because if you're listening to this podcast, you're pretty and you're too pretty to be thinking like that. And let me tell you something else. Men have already figured this out. Why do you think men do things like love bombing, like weaponized incompetence? Why do you think guys will ghost women after a few dates or after sleeping with them? Why do you think guys will date a woman for a few years and then maybe get a promotion, maybe graduate from medical school, and then leave the woman? It's because they are goal oriented. They've cracked the code of treating things like a business a long time ago. They already know this stuff. A guy listening to this episode would be like, I know this. Or he'll be like, shoot, she's giving away my secrets. But that's what I'm here to do. They are goal oriented. They are thinking about themselves first. So why are we conditioned to think about ourselves last? Doesn't make sense. And our tendency to not be goal oriented goes hand in hand with our tendency as women to be people pleasers. But anyone who benefits from your people pleasing tendencies does not care about how much you're giving is actually depleting and abusing you. So remember, people will push you as far as you let them. So don't let them. Don't let them. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay? So look at the people who made the rules and then look at their behaviors and mimic them. And we're women, we can do it so much better and we're going to look hot while we're doing it. Anyway, going back to identifying what we want from the relationship, we need to set our goals. And the way we do this is it really helps to write them down. And it especially helps to do that if you're not even in that situation yet. If you listened to my episode with Cami Sophia last week, she actually talked about how she wrote her list of an ideal man, the 10 traits she wanted in her partner. And when she finally met that guy, a month after she wrote the list, she literally took out her phone and checked the list. And she's like, okay, he meets 8 out of my 10 criteria. Great. So it really helps to write things down, especially when you're not in that situation yet, because you're not biased. You're not writing that list with somebody in mind or a job in mind or whatever it might be. So if you're single, you should write your ideal man list. If you're looking for a new job, you should write your ideal job list. Even maybe like a house or a passion project that you're working on or a hobby or anything, a sport. It could be anything. So write down your goals and really clearly identify what you want out of whatever it is and where you want to be. And especially how you want it to make you feel. And once you have these clearly written out goals, that becomes your compass. All your actions should go back to that. For example, you write your ideal man list and you end up dating a guy. Well, before you even end up in that relationship, you check that list and you're like, okay, he checks off 7 out of 10. That's my threshold. We're good to go. And then over time, you keep coming back to it and you're like, okay, like, is he still exhibiting these traits even after we've been together for a while? Or was it all a front? Is he still making me feel the way I want to feel? Is he still doing the things that I want him to do? So you keep going back to that list. It's not just a one and done. Number 2 is to identify the currency we're willing to give. Now, in terms of currency, men have it easier because a lot of men's giving is tangible. For example, a lot of the way men give in a relationship is financial. So it's very easy to obviously see and feel that and quantify it. Obviously, not all their giving is financial. Of course, men give in a lot of great ways as well, but a lot of it is tangible. As women, our giving is mostly intangible. We're giving with our energy, our empathy, our emotions, even our bodies. So it's a lot easier to give excessively and to deplete yourself in the process because it's harder to quantify how much you're actually giving, unless you like assign aura points to it or something. And we've been conditioned to think that things can only be quantified when they have a number. And that's great for men to get credit. But remember who made the rules? Honestly, like if I was reincarnated as a man, I would go straight to the women who give their all and who give aimlessly because I'm basically getting free access to everything women have to offer and I really don't have to do anything in return. I have an endless supply of emotional, physical, and sexual labor, right? That's a jackpot for a loser, for a loser man, for a dusty. But remember, nothing in life is free. Nothing in life is free, ladies. And if they're not paying for it, then you are. It's on the house. The house being you. Yeah. So after you wrote your goals, you also want to write down what you are willing to do to achieve them. What are the things you're willing to sacrifice? What are the things you're not willing to sacrifice? For example, you might write, I'll work overtime only if it doesn't mean sacrificing spending time with my family or doing my hobbies. That's actually something I did at my corporate job and I got heavily penalized for it. Sometimes you're going to get pushback. You're going to get pushback for your currency, for what you're willing to give and what you're willing to stand on business on and say, this, I'm not willing to give this. And that's okay. That's going to happen. You are going to get pushback from people. And that's especially when you have to be firm with your boundaries and your standards. And maybe you have to go back to that list of things you're willing to give and be like, okay, I'm getting pushback for this, but I told myself, I made a promise to myself that I'm not going to sacrifice this. And so I'm going to stand on business. And remember that most people who push your boundaries and expect you to sacrifice things that are important to you don't really care about you because they probably see you as expendable. If your job expects you to work yourself into an early grave, they don't care about you. If a man sees you giving everything and depleting yourself and running yourself ragged and not being appreciative of it or stopping you and being like, you are enough, you don't need to do things, you are enough. If he sees that and doesn't intervene, he doesn't care about you. You're an option to him. Think of things in different contexts. Like you can look at a job and be like, if this was a relationship, this would be toxic. You can look at a relationship and be like, if this was a business, we would be bankrupt. You can look at a hobby or a sport that you do and you can think, if this was also a business, we would be bankrupt because I'm not putting in the right amount of effort. So it really helps to sort of step out of that situation and apply another situation to it. For example, all my jobs, I've always treated them like a relationship, which means for me, if anything ever got toxic or I felt like I was being taken advantage of or treated unfairly, I would think of that along the same lines as a relationship. I would be like, if I was in a relationship and I got treated like this, I would leave. And I've actually left jobs because of that. For example, I got promoted at one of my jobs and they didn't give me a pay raise. So I'm like, okay, bye. All right, we're at the point of the episode now where we discuss reversals, but I don't really think there are many reversals to this law. I think there are more so caveats or cautions I should give. So I would say live outside of your list. The purpose of your relationships is that you enjoy them. So you don't want to be living in your list. It's the same thing as when you make a budget. You don't want to be living in the spreadsheet, right? You want to live outside the spreadsheet. You want to enjoy your money. It's the same thing with this. You want to enjoy your relationships. You just want to make sure that they are serving the right purpose in your life and that they're not depleting you. Also, keep in mind that not everyone is going to take advantage of you. Not everyone is out to use and abuse you. Like I say in every episode, everything you're doing is coming out of a place of love for yourself, not out of hatred or cynicism or mistrust for other people. But most of us women do have tendencies that make it easy for people to take advantage of us. So we really have to secure that line of defense and be protective of ourselves, of our energy, our emotions, our bodies, of the things that we can give to other people that they may or may not deserve. Because people will push you as far as you let them. So don't let them. All right. With that, I am going to close this episode. Thank you all for tuning in to another Girly Law of Power. As always, feel free to drop a 5-star rating. If you like this, give it a like, a comment, whatever y'all want to do. It's your world. And I hope you are all as excited for the baddie brief as I am. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're following me on Instagram because that's where I post all my updates. And I will see y'all in the next episode. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, I'll be announcing that the baddie brief is open for everyone to sign up. In the meantime, don't forget that you are the baddest bitch in any building you step foot in. All right, until next time, stay bad. Love you. Bye.